What up? What up? What up, people? Welcome to another edition of Assembly of Excellence.
We
I
back.
am
We
your
live.
host. Yes. What's the word? What's the word?
Grateful is the word.
That's right. That's right. One more day, one more breath. Always a privilege and honor, man, to be here with you and with the people. Shout out to Miss T, aka Light and Love, man. An official member of Assembly of Excellence. I see you. I appreciate the love and the support on the channel. You know what I'm saying? How is everything going on your end, bro? Um, Golden
It's
System, I
going
see you in
great.
the building. Salutes to you, sir. We're definitely going to connect. That's what's up. That's what's up. Um, Golden System, Jason Matthews. You guys will get acquainted very soon. Trust and believe me. Um, this is another gentleman that I'm looking forward to having up here with us. I'm pretty sure that a lot of wisdom and a lot of knowledge will be coming from this brother, just like from you. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Before we go further into the conversation, let me go ahead and give a shout out to my writers, my content creators, my poets, my streamers, everyone that's doing their thing right now. I salute you. Um, yeah, just another day in the office. We got some stuff to talk about. If you wasn't here yesterday, go check out that stream. It was a goodie. The power of the tongue is real. Whether or not people want to take stock in it or not, it is real. And it's definitely something that I think you might appreciate. So yeah. We here, bro. This is one of those subjects I'm always interested in because everything on TV and everything that's put in our face is always just the most obvious ploy to me. Nothing is really disguised or hidden, in my opinion, in terms of what they try to push. But I wanted to hear your take. I'm looking at this like, can we finally just acknowledge it and call it for what it is? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What should we do with it? How should we handle it? Um, what are your thoughts on propaganda?
Well, propaganda is a form of manipulation. It is and manipulation, as I define it, I've actually come up with a definition, which is the attempt to sway the beliefs, ideas, and thoughts of another person for a specific result. And so when you look at it from that light, it is manipulation because what it is doing is it's using a specific message to sway the way that someone thinks to their way of thinking. And I believe, for me personally, I think propaganda really it depends on how you use it. I mean, most things are propaganda: music, poetry, art, um, conversations, dating. It's all some sort of propaganda. It's all a way of getting someone to make a bid of what they want someone to think, feel, or believe, and whether that works or not, because a person is swayed by what they are interacting with. And so it depends on how it's used and depends on the way it's deployed. That's what makes propaganda either a good thing or a bad thing. Propaganda about stranger danger is a good thing. Propaganda about um, men being toxic is a bad thing. All men being toxic, that's a bad thing, because it's all for a specific agenda that um, you probably don't know what it is. And if you do, you're not going to share your intentions, because then that basically lets the cat out of the bag and it lessens the power of that unethical manipulation. So yeah, it really depends on how it's used.
Yeah, I guess for me, overall, looking at it, I'm seeing it used more negatively than positively. Anytime I hear it being used in a way that is to control or kind of alter someone's way of thinking, I never really deem it as well. Let me rephrase that, because looking at it from a different set of eyes with unbiased, I can understand why it could be a positive outlook look on it. But I'm more so seeing it from a stance where people are just trying to poison you and put you under a certain type of control so that they can
Mhm.
continue to get something out of it that's going to benefit them in the long run and overall in the future. For example, the current situation surrounding Donald Trump and Biden, all of these different commercials and things that they kind of advertise and try to promote in these commercials, knowing if you really go back into your history and look at how they've actually been living their life and what their real beliefs are, you would just kind of look at it like, all right, you guys are full of shit. But a lot of that stuff is only for those who seek to understand and go beyond the surface of what's really being pushed in front of the camera. Is there a line that should be drawn between fiction and reality? Because it almost seems like what you see is not really real. It's just pushing this idea that this could be yours, but you're not really telling me the reality behind that lie that you're trying to paint to be pretty.
So the line between where what propaganda does, that's a hard one to say, because especially in the US, we have the freedom of speech, the ability to say whatever the hell we want, as long as it does not besmirch or falsely um, claim something about someone that is false. I know I was redundant there, but that's okay. So the biggest thing about propaganda is, again, what is it designed to do? Is it designed to create a position for people and influence them what position they're supposed to take? Okay. Is it more geared towards allowing other people to make their own decision? That's fine too. The the intent behind it matters less as much as the person that is being manipulated. And the reason why is because the less informed a person is, the less educated, the less curious they are, the more likely they are to be manipulated by propaganda. The more intelligent, the more curious, the more mindful a person is, the less likelihood they're going to be manipulated unless they choose to be. And this is really the biggest thing that people have the most responsibility for. It doesn't matter what people are saying, it's what you choose to believe. No matter what's being said, it's all a rumor. It is all propaganda until you decide that it's real for you. Then it becomes real. Then you are affected by it because you have allowed yourself to be. And this is something that um, most people in power would hate people to understand, is that the only power that they actually have is the power we give them. And if we decide that they are no longer worth our time, our attention, or our energy, they stop becoming relevant. And it really is up to us to have that independent investigation of truth. Find out what is true for us. Find out what we are going to believe, what we decide to be true in our lives, and why. What is it about what people are trying to make us believe that's going to benefit me and the people that I interact with? How is my believing it going to affect those around me and ultimately the society in which we live? And the more that we focus on that, the more we focus on understanding how we are able to be influenced, how we decide to be influenced, and how we decide to influence others, that is going to really going to be the key of really how powerful propaganda is.
All of Golden, appreciate you. Um, Shout out to Psychedelic Drip. I want to say we all have a responsibility to ourselves, to our loved ones, to our future, to be whatever it is that we were created to be. That could be very subjective to your own outlook. Your upbringing doesn't dictate what God's purpose is for you. You'll be a million different things from the time you're born to where you are now. I guarantee no one is doing exactly what they said they're going to do when they were 10 years old. One of the things that I noticed that you said was something about having a certain knowledge of self, where if you know yourself well enough, you can't be controlled or misled into doing something that is going to be a deterrent to your walk. I've noticed a lot or lack thereof of independence in this generation and prior. Do you think that propaganda has a lot to do with it? And what I mean by that is people are not really leaders, they're being led by outside sources. They're kind of controlling and putting and reshaping the way that you think without you really necessarily knowing that you're being controlled or manipulated into doing things the way they want you to. Do you think right now that this is more of a problem? Is it prevalent? Is it something that is necessary or prominent in today's climate?
I think that
Now let me be a little more. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, please. You're going to be a little more concise. That
No.
would be appreciated.
So what I'm saying is right. We have Jordan commercials. We have Forever 21. We have Instagram ads. We have music videos. We have Christmas. We have Valentine's Day. We have Halloween, dressing up, um, celebrating certain ideologies and practices that kind of go contrary to whatever your beliefs is. And folks who don't have guidance or they don't have mentors, friends, family, they don't have that infrastructure where there's someone in a household that's like, look, I know everything that you see here is pretty and it looks good, and you want to do this and you want to do that, but let me tell you something about this, and let me tell you something about that. I don't think enough people have that, and they're being ruled and led by social media and the propaganda. So my question is, do you, in your opinion, think that this is as serious as I'm putting focus on it? Is it prevalent? Is it relative, or is it more just a combination of just other things to play into this too?
I think there are a lot of things that are playing into this that are it's it's doing these things, and it's doing them with an agenda. And it's the agenda that is the biggest problem. The reason why this is being done. And I'm a big proponent of, okay, well, these things are available to you. You can definitely experiment them with what you want, how you want, and whatever. My only caution would be for anybody who does want to keep up with the Joneses, or who wants to um do all the things because they think it's going to make them happy. Really understand how it makes you feel, and focus on the effect that it's having on you and on others. Is it bringing people together? Is it alienating them from each other? Is it making a person feel like they want to do more, or is it making them feel like they want to do less? And that's why this topic is so hard, because there's so many factors. Well, when you factor in responsibility, the idea of propaganda just goes into the toilet, because it doesn't become as important as the idea of taking responsibility for what it is you encounter. And everything that I do really, it has to take into account, okay, so how am I being responsible? How am I using my responsibility in a certain way? It's it becomes the most important question. And without providing that context, when you just look at the propaganda, yeah, it makes it seem like we are a slave to it, and we aren't a slave to anything unless we choose to be. We have to be willing to be led in order to be led, but that means we have to lead ourselves into a position of being led. So again, it all boils down to, what responsibilities are you taking for yourself, and are you evaluating constantly what it is that you are taking in? And then once you have evaluated it, if it's not good for you, are you taking the responsibility necessary to cease it? And yes, I get it. I get that media, TV, and internets and everything else has made it very hard to want to walk a certain path. But hard doesn't mean impossible. It just means that an extra sense of discipline is necessary.
Greg Kelly says, The misuse of AI imagery will only serve to exacerbate the proliferation of propaganda. We have become a real time, instant gratification global society, ripe for the pickings. I can see that. I really can. So let me see if I can interwoven your response and his response all in one statement. Um, we went over this before about what age you should be able to be held accountable for the decisions and choices you make. Why I think that's important to put on the spot here is because once you know right and wrong, you should be able to, at least from my point of view, you should be able to determine to some extent what is going to be the best for you and what's going to be a stumbling block, what is going to be destructive, what is going to be chaotic, what is going to set you back if you decide to turn left instead of right. Most people would say once you hit that certain age limit, the sky is the limit. But for whatever reason, even if we all come to the agreement that all right, yeah, at this age you should know better, you should know this and that, but it still just seems like all right, so knowing this, you're still giving your control over to someone else and putting your trust into someone else to tell you whether or not this is the best course of action for you. Is that the way you want to live? Is this the best for your love life, for your career? Is this the best path for you to take? You're still allowing other people to dictate and control that. So are we still, well, let me rewind. My answer and my response to both of you guys, we got to hold ourselves accountable for a lot of this too. It's not just on the people who are holding the camera. We decide whether or not we want to sensationalize something that is dangerous. We decide whether or not we want to promote and um what's the word? It's There's a term that I'm trying to say. Retweet, if you want to say. You want to retweet it, you want to repost it, you want to reshare it. You ever watch a video on TikTok or one of these spots where they are recording someone fighting, and then you scroll down to the comment section and you look down at the bottom of it, there's this reshare button, there's this save button, and so on. But you got hundreds and thousands of people saving and resharing it. So I only say that to say we are definitely a part of the issue and a part of the problem. And the
It's a
fact
lack
of the
of.
matter is, Greg,
Go ahead.
you got it.
Okay. Um, so we become a part of the problem when we don't take responsibility. I love what you said, that there is a responsibility necessary for what we consume, how we react, and what we share. And the word I love to use, one of my favorite words in the English language, is disseminate, which is the act of sharing things and spreading it far and wide. And it is understanding what we decide to disseminate, what we decide to react to, and how we we conduct ourselves. Over the past, I think over the past like 10 years, I have become very selective of the media that I expose myself to. I have been very selective of the kinds of stories, the kinds of news, if any at all, or, aside from just the headlines, or anything regarding what people share, what people think, any kind of propaganda at all. I've become very, very picky in what I choose to consume because I understand how impactful it can be on me and how my mood can change based on the things that I encounter. So I have had to be very picky, very choosy about what I decide to put myself in front of. And it would be it'd be wonderful if more people could do that. We're going to see it eventually. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but eventually you're going to see that people are going to gravitate towards this more sense of responsibility anyway, because they have to. Whether it be this generation, the next, the one after, I'm not sure. But eventually there's going to be this point where it wears off. The emotional factor wears off and it becomes dull. And people begin to see it for what it is. And they begin to see that it is nothing more than trying to trap them. And you want to make a human being irate, try to trap him and let him know that he's been trapped. It does not work out well at all. And it gets to a point where when enough of them do decide that they are done being trapped, that they are going to rebel in some way. It doesn't have to be a revolution or a major upheaval, but even just deciding what they pay attention to and what they decide is important is a rebellion. If you ignore something, it is a rebellion. If you decide to go in a different direction and live your life in a way that is counter to what the established order said, this is what you'll do, that is a rebellion. And being able to rebel is a great it's a great behavior that people have. And the more we allow ourselves the opportunity to rebel, the more we allow ourselves the opportunity to get to the point of this is no longer good. It's a cycle, like everything else. Eventually, it gets to that point, and then we rebel, and we find something else, and then we become way too placated in that, and eventually, it becomes bad for us. We have to rebel again. It's just a cycle that keeps on happening, and it's happened ever since the dawn of humankind. It'll happen until the last human goes out of existence.
I wonder if a lot of it is primal instinct. Is it genetically encoded in us to want to follow suit or live our own individuality, but a box has been placed around us and has caused us to seek certain successes and through the eyes of someone else who is living the dream, because if I look at every single piece of history that has been displayed before my eyes, it's almost as if when a person is talking to me, they're not actually them. And what I mean by it's not actually them, you can tell that the things that they're discussing or they're sharing with you is coming from another source outside of themselves that they were introduced to. So it just comes off so inorganic and so like puppeteerish. It kind of makes you wonder just how far away from the truth a person really is. And if here's my thing is like I know that if I take every piece of advice that's been given to me, good or bad. I'm the one ultimately that's going to have to determine and define all of the definitions and meanings behind the words of wisdom that's being shared to me. I have to determine if it's folly, foolish, or it's going to uplift me and be of strength and of encouragement. I have to determine whether or not it's going to put me in a place where I know myself, truly know myself, and I'm not being identified as another fingerprint in the hands of the potter. Where a lot of people go astray and go wrong, in my opinion, we allow ourselves to get all of our information processed from everywhere else but the main source. It's almost like being lazy, and you don't really want to till the land and plant your own garden and your own seeds, and you don't want to see the fruits of your labor on your own. You would rather take bits and pieces of, it's like creating your own Frankenstein monster. I think a lot of people do it. Um, that's just my whole thing with getting advice from people, and you really don't spiritually know whether or not this person has the best intentions towards you or the people that they're delivering their messages to. Go a little deeper into that. You don't know the difference, and you don't want to know why. You don't question it. You don't really say, all right, it all sounds good. Just like y'all watching right now. Or I can go into a plethora of different spaces, and they can have the best vocabulary, and they can quote all of the scripture and all the sources in the world, and it sounds good to you, but it's like still you still have to be like, I wonder, I don't know. Maybe I need to find out for myself. Take responsibility over your own decisions and stop letting someone else control your choices and decisions. Uh,
Well,
Section 8, Mr. Greg said, question, what do y'all think about Snopes? And has it been compromised, or is it inherently biased? I've used it from time to time to disseminate the truth, but I'm finding myself with doubts lately.
there was a great movie, a great documentary called "The Fall Cabal," and I think it's an 8-part series. Good luck finding it. I think it's been taken down in most places. Um, I think that in that movie or in that series, it actually does talk about Snopes, how it was seen to be or displayed to be a debunker of fake news. But there are many things that it says that are fake that are questionable. And personally, I would use it very sparingly. If you do use it, make sure you use more than just one source. Make sure you're able to find many independent or a few independent debunkers of fake news and really compare them against each other. And if you can't do that, common sense is always the best judge. And if you can't figure it out, I mean, honestly, how important is it to know whether what is being said is fake or not? That's really the best test. Now, as far as I love this question that Mad Mystic put in because I I really want to address this about what are some common things people can do to embrace responsibility. There are two things that I would recommend. The first is what I call the uh, responsibilities and what you create and what you allow. I've got a lot of things going on right now, so I'm being distracted. I apologize. Um, what you create and what you allow, and this comes down to what you are responsible for within yourself. What are you choosing to be responsible for you? And this includes your health, your purpose, your drive, everything about what it is you want to achieve. And then with that question comes, who are you responsible to? And these are the people either that you um, are responsible to because they depend on you for something. It could be your children, could be your spouse, could be friends, could be clients. Something. What are you responsible to them? In what way are you responsible to them? And when you have that the purpose laid out of what you are going to be responsible for, that creates your vision. And at that point, you look at what you allow. And this becomes what you are going to allow into your sphere. As in, is this going to actually help me get towards my goal? Then yes, let it in. But where the boundaries really come in is for the things that are going to hinder your progress, hamper your ability to get where you need to go, or make the progress considerably longer than it needs to be. Those things you need to filter out, and that's what boundaries really come to. So that's the first thing: what you create and what you allow. The second thing is something I've covered quite often, especially recently. It's an acronym that I call TABER, TABER. And it stands for transparency, autonomy, benefit, empathy, and relation. And these five things should be the bedrock or the standard by which you interact with others and how you present yourself. Being transparent with your motives, honoring the autonomy of other people, allowing them to do what they're going to do, and not worrying about the result. Describing the benefit for you and for others, connecting with others, and really showing how you understand them, and everything based on the desire to create a larger community, a sense of oneness, the sense of togetherness, which is relational. And by doing these five things, you create a sense of being able to be trustworthy, someone who is approachable and reliable, someone who knows what they want and who has done the work, what you create, what you allow, and has is conducting themselves in a way that others feel like that they can trust you. So those are the two things that I would seriously recommend. Gratitude is a good one though, to add to that mix.
I think he pretty much covered that. Uh, really, truthfully speaking, we make decisions, we put options in front of us, and we decide what is optimal for us at the given moment, whatever the opportunity has been presented to us. It could be a partnership in a business. It could be just deciding whether or not you want to catch the bus or ride a bike. When you stand there at the fork of the road and you have to look at which outcome is going to be best for you, go over everything in your head and decide whether or not this is going to bear the fruit that you would like it to. Because whatever you decide to choose, something is going to come from it. And too often, when we move our feet in any direction, the truth is always going to be guaranteed at the end of it, if nothing else. So let's put it out there. If you believe in something and you stand on it and you're unwavering, that's your position and that's your prerogative. You can have a stance on whatever it is that you like. But doing that to me is kind of cheapening the experience of living because what's happening now, unless you know that you've stolen or you've removed the chance of you progressing a little further in that spot that you were in because you're limiting yourself to hearing something that might be a little more beneficial to you. Taking responsibility means that chastisement will come and you can accept it and you can adapt. I think the problem with responsibility for a lot of people is not wanting to deal with what comes with it. Not just the physical tangibles of it, but the internal things that are of effect because of the responsibilities in turn. If you're a leader and you have to make sure that your workers are happy, that the work is being distributed fairly, the money is being distributed fairly, that you're treating everyone according to their work and not because of favoritism, that's a lot of pressure. A lot of people are in these positions and they do not know what they're doing, and because of that, and they take on that load, you have some folks that get more benefits out of the job than others. The bottom line is be careful with where you lay your head at and where you're planting your seeds and what you're trying to harvest.
I think the
I'll say this.
one small thing I want to say, the idea of not taking responsibility, I think, is funny, because whether you take responsibility or not, the consequences that you have to deal with are the same, but it's on how you deal with them. If you decide not to take responsibility, become a victim of your circumstance. Whereas if you take responsibility, become a cause of finding the solution. So in one instance, you're going to be in a worse place than you could have because all you did was accept what happened and you did nothing to take control of it or to turn it in your favor. Where on the other hand, you did everything you could. And the outcome still might be the same, but the way that you approach it and the way how you see yourself in that circumstance is going to be drastically different, which means the way that you see yourself, period, is going to be very different. Do you see yourself as a contributor, as a person who is acting on their own behalf, or do you see yourself as a victim?
That's how I look at propaganda. Every day I get in front of this remote control and I turn on YouTube, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly what I'm watching. I know why I'm watching it. Then I have to determine whether or not I'm going to allow this to take hold of my spirit or stay in my thoughts all day or not. Um, Pros and cons with propaganda. We spoke on it, but the things that I dislike about it is that if you want to use propaganda, use it in the way where it's going to make the livelihoods of your people better. If you're going to use propaganda, make sure that you have a pure heart, that you're not going into it trying to strip somebody of what is them. You're not trying to take away or remove their identity. That you're what you're doing is not having a devastating effect on their loved ones, on their bloodline, on their livelihood. See, with propaganda, a lot of people with bad hearts and bad intentions are using it because, let's face it, they know a lot of people have damn near given up their rights to think for themselves. A lot of people do not want to trust in the creator to lead them, or they don't want to trust in someone to guide them in a way that's going to be better for them overall in the long haul of all of it. So they would rather trust in someone who has millions of followers. They're on primetime TV. They might be the most aesthetically appealing to you. They might dress a certain way. They might have a certain lifestyle, a certain way of living that might, oh shit, they make X amount of money. They got 5 cars, they got 3 houses, they travel all across the world, and they post all of their extraordinary lifestyle for the world to see every single day, and you're amazed by it. And your life doesn't look like theirs or reflect theirs, but you look at theirs and you say to yourself, if it's possible for them, or if they can do it, maybe I can do it too. So yeah, instead of kind of refining yourself and discovering what is best for you opt the easy way out, and you live vicariously through others. And these people know exactly who they are targeting. They know exactly who is out there that is lost. They know exactly who out there is gullible and will listen to any single thing that is said to them. They know exactly who will pretty much drop their cross. I said it the other day. People will get in a comment section of a live stream and they will spend $30, $40, $50, $60 just to comment, just to talk to a celebrity or someone who is streaming. They'll spend their hard earned money just to get one response from a person who don't really care about them. And that's one of the uglier sides about it that I dislike. On the flip side, if you're doing the right things with it, it could be a beautiful thing. It really can. And so I guess my question here is: Are do we assassinate propaganda? Do we try to get rid of it, or do we reshape the way we think about it and the way we feel about it?
You can't get rid of it. That's impossible. That's the answer. So the only thing you can do is decide how you're going to react to it. There's no way you can get rid of propaganda because that would be getting rid of imagination and the creativity of thought. And that would be the greatest travesty to happen to humankind. So, no, you can't do away with it. You can't assassinate it. You can't do anything other than decide how you're going to interact with it. Maybe some guidelines can be placed on how propaganda can be used effectively and ethically, and with less um, with less self-serving intentions or goals. But as far as propaganda as a whole, no, there's nothing you can do about that.
I have one final question. Pay attention, folks, because I'm curious to know what you guys think as well. But I want to ask you specifically, so there's no confusion. If you were going to tell someone how to differentiate good and bad propaganda, what would you specifically tell them? How would you detail that? What do you look out for? How do you know the difference? I mean, some people like
Um,
you might recognize it, but some people.
so it's not very easy. This is not an easy answer. I came about being able to understand propaganda because of my experiences. I've experienced bad propaganda. I've drinking the evil Kool-Aid, and I've really understood how it has impacted me and others. And that is what gave me the wherewithal to understand what is right for me and what I need to pay attention to, because I've experienced it. I've gone through the the uh, the pain, so to speak, of understanding. But that's for me. I can't tell everyone that that's going to be their experience. What I can do is I can say pay attention to what feels right. If you're experiencing propaganda that feels controlling, it probably is. If you're experiencing propaganda that's meant to sway you in a direction that you may not want to go, pay attention to that because they probably are. If you're experiencing propaganda that is going to open your mind and cause you to be curious, lean into that as hard as you possibly can. And that is probably going to give you the greatest understanding of being able to differentiate good propaganda from negative propaganda. Does it expand your mind, or does it seek to isolate it and force you into a box? Does it seek to allow you to give you more options, or does it restrict the number of options that you have? Those are really the things that I would say to look for.
I love your answers because I would have said a lot of the same thing. Another thing, and I'm only going to add this one part to it. Um, a lot of times, in most cases, that propaganda is going to most likely appease your flesh. It might come off like it is a good idea, and it might come off as if it's the best way to go because typically when you see things with your eyes first, you kind of automatically by default lust after it. And if it puts you in that type of emotion, or it invokes that type of emotion, odds are is probably a disguise to lead you down the wrong road. The devil dresses things up just as neat and just as nice as God does. But there's a big difference, just like Jason said. So you're right. It's not going nowhere. It's never going nowhere. Uh, the best thing you can do is prepare yourself a little better in how you determine what is what and protect yourself.
One thing I do want to add is
And
sometimes
you are right, man, Mister.
sometimes it's really necessary to experience the negative propaganda in order to know what it feels like, in order to know, oh shit, I don't like this. This is not something that I really want to experience again. I feel like I've been duped, like I've been taken advantage of. I hate this. And sometimes that can be the best experience for you. And to really focus on that and say, okay, I know what this feels like. Let's go for everything else.
My folks always said a hard head makes a soft ass, and that's that's a fact. I don't know how many times I done got mine's book for being hard headed and wanting to do what I want. Hey, whatever will work for y'all. You know what I'm saying? But don't let it be so far off that you can't come back from it. If anything, try to
And that's the other side of it, yeah.
minimize the dumbassery. Yeah,
Dumbasity, that's a good word.
damn. Nah, cause I get making a mistake, but then it's like, damn, you gonna do it 30 more times? How many times you gotta go through it before you like, all right, this just isn't working. I need to try something else.
And it really comes down to
But shout
deciding,
outs. Shout outs to you.
or making sure that you really pay attention to that feeling that you have when you're trying something. What does it feel like? What is the feeling that is being generated? How are you responding to it? How does it feel when you're doing it? Does it feel gross? Well, then knock it off. Just because other people are doing it doesn't mean you should if it doesn't feel right to you. So pay attention to what something feels like for you, and find others that feel the same way. That way you can be supported by those who are doing something else, and allows you to feel like you can do something else as well.
Man, don't you can't that this brother does not drop gems. Hold on. Let me. I gotta do it. I gotta do it one time. People be tripping, bro. Like I get it, and I just want to say this before we close out because I know we at that mark, but like we gotta be real with ourselves here, man. People are being misled and lied to way too much, and then you get into these spaces with other people, and then you realize that you don't really realize the predicament you've put yourself in. So, hey, what do I know? I do want to say thank you though, bro. Um, a couple of those words that you shared with me has always been embedded, like the tabor. Uh, I've had to self check myself a lot, and sit there and it's kind of like, all right, am I limiting myself? I probably am. Let me go ahead and let me scrap just ball it up and throw it in the trash and start over again because I don't want to have that same defeatist mindset that I had going into it or going into the next thing. This has opened me up to different possibilities, and a lot of the folks, man, have given resounding feedback. You definitely have the Midas touch. I need you to touch a couple of items over here so that I can go to the pawn shop and cash in on some on some of this because yeah.
You're too kind.
But shout out to you. Yeah. But shout out to you. Shout out to everybody in the Instagram space. Derek pulled up in the building. He watching from IG. Uh, Mr. 373 Nisa Cat Shaki, the poet. I just did an interview with her. Her poem is posted up here. If you haven't checked that out, go check that out. She is dope. She is definitely dope. Psychedelic Drip, um, Mad Mystic, Greg Kelly, everybody, man, who just came out to have a good time and really just take in some good dialogue, man. Salutes to you. Um, do me a favor before we head out. Hit that thumbs up. The thumbs up is the indicator that we are doing something right, that we are on the right path to reaching the people who need to be reached. It's not a popularity contest. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about discovering the truth. So the more of us that kind of get along and get on that same page and just say, you know what, we need to start filtering out the type of shows and conversations that get put to the front of the line. We need to kind of change how people are looking at social media. We can be that change. We can do it. It's not impossible. It starts here. And I thank him for it. I thank everyone that's in the building for it. Mark, Blue Flames, the poet. A lot of people come through here and drop a lot of information. And yeah, man, we be back. I told you I'm on here all week. So you're gonna see me back tomorrow. Me and Jason pulling up Thursday. Mark making her return on Thursday. Might have some surprises coming in between then. So just stay on the watch. Go ahead, bro. You got it.
I, I actually won't be here on Thursday, unfortunately. I sent you a message on Facebook to let you know that I won't be here. So it'll just be you and Mark and anybody else who shows up.
Got you. All right. Well, whatever you got going on, bro, my thoughts and my prayers with you. I hope everything goes smoothly. I know you are someone of integrity and you always been 100 with me. So blessings to you and the family and everything that you got your hands on that day and all your projects. If you got any final words for the people, the floor is yours.
Thanks. The only thing that I would say is really make sure that you know what you are creating and you know what you are allowing into your life and be vigilant in the things that you pay attention to and the way that your life unfolds, keeping in your mind, keeping fixed in your mind the goal you want to achieve. And while you're doing that, really find opportunities to be kind, so kindness can find you in return.
Amen and amen again. Thank you guys for coming out. You all have a blessed evening. You know where I'm going to be at. You know how to reach me. The business don't stop. We got more work to do. This is just the beginning. You know what I'm saying? So, uh, that being said, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Peace and good night.